Hello and welcome to my top 30 best movies of 2014 video. Now before I start, I would just like to say a couple of things. First of all, I know I'm only about like 10 months late, but just give me some time to explain why I decided to make this video now. Back when I stopped making videos towards the beginning of last year, I saw all these people uploading their lists of favorite movies of 2014, and I always loved doing those, and I'm like, when I get back, that is definitely one video that I would like to do. But after that time had passed, I figured, I'm already late, so I might as well just watch every film that came out in 2014, which is exactly what I did, believe it or not. I saw almost every single movie that came out in 2014 just to make this video right here. In fact, the video that you're watching right now is one of the main reasons why I've been lacking on videos recently, is because I've been busy trying to watch every single movie that came out in 2014. It was definitely a much longer process than I imagined, but it's just so bizarre to see that I'm finally done and I'm ready to share my list with you guys. There were so many great movies that came out last year that I didn't even realize existed, so I'm glad that I watched almost all of them, otherwise I wouldn't even have half the movies that are on my list right now. So I deeply apologize for being extremely late. I just decided to go all out on this since I was already late, But yeah, here it is now, my top 30 favorite movies that came out last year. I would also like to tell you guys not to expect any superhero type movies like Captain America Winter Soldier or X-Men Days of Future Past. Those just aren't my type of movies. It's not that I think they're bad movies necessarily, they're just not my cup of tea. Also guys, please keep in mind that this is just my personal opinion. This doesn't mean that any of these movies on this list are the best of 2014. These are just the ones that I liked personally and the ones that I would like to share with you guys, and the ones that I think you should check out. So that being said, let's get on with this video. Now of course, due to the crapload of movies I watched, this was extremely hard to make, and I had to let some very awesome films go that just couldn't make it on my list. So I have some honorable mentions for you guys, but please be aware that there are a lot of honorable mentions, so this might take a while. And since this video is already going to be long enough, I really don't have time to talk about any of these movies, so I'm just going to quickly tell you guys the names of the movies. Alright, are you ready? Here we go. My honorable mention picks for 2014 are Snowpiercer, Honeymoon, Only Lovers Left Alive, Starry Eyes, The Taking of Deborah Lang, The Houses October Built, The Skeleton Twins, We Are the Best, Boyhood, Blue Ruin, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, the 2014 one, Inherent Vice, The Purge Anarchy, Deliver Us from Evil, Dead Snow 2 Red vs. Dead, 13 Sins, Grand Piano, Filmage, The Story of Descendants in All, Top 5, The Interview, Lucy, The Rover, Neighbors, The Sacrament, I Origins, Big Hero 6, Borgman, Startup, Hodorowski's Doom, Lost Soul, The Doom Journey of Richard Stanley's The Island of Dr. Moreau, Force Majeure, I butchered that name so bad, Big Eyes, Cold in July, The Box Trolls, Oculus, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, Willow Creek, Mood Indigo, The Double, and Palo Alto. Yeah, that's my list of, honorable mentions from last year, so yeah, there you go. Believe it or not, I had more honorable mentions than my actual list, so yeah, you can probably tell this was pretty painful to make. So I'm just gonna get right to it now, since I got all that out of the way, and I'm just gonna start the damn thing. So let's start with number 30. Number 30 is a little film called Frank. Frank stars Michael Fassbender, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and a bunch of other people, and it's basically about this guy who wears this giant head. Nobody knows what his face looks like, and he's the lead singer of this indie band that is really hard to pronounce. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like this movie the first time I saw it. Probably because it just wasn't what I expected, and it left on like a really sad and depressing note, and I don't think I expected that either. But for some reason, this movie has grown on me since, and it's definitely one of the most memorable movies of 2014, so yeah, I think it definitely deserves its place on number 30. Number 29 is another little film that, in my opinion, is incredibly underrated, and it is called Joe. Joe stars Nicolas Cage, Ty Sheridan, and is also directed by this super awesome filmmaker who goes by the name of David Gordon Green. I think the main reason why I like this film so much is because it really surprised me. I wasn't really expecting much, and before I knew it, I was getting really sucked into this beautifully crafted film with a great story and great acting too. This is by far Nicolas Cage's best role, like, in a while. He hasn't done a role like this in quite a long time, and it's just nice to see, you know, it's just a nice little change for him. So yeah guys, check out Joe. This movie may not look like much, but believe me, it's awesome. Number 28 on my list is a movie called Gone Girl. It stars Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, and is directed by the one and only David Fincher, and just what is there to say? It's Gone Girl. This one also really surprised me as well, and it was a lot better than I expected it to be. Although I did get a lot of stuff spoiled for me before I watched it, thanks to the lovely people on the internet, but it still managed to keep my interest, and it still offered all these twists and turns, and that's one hell of a good movie in my book. So yeah guys, Gone Girl. Check it out. Number 27 on my list is probably my favorite animated movie that came out last year. Oh wait. No, I'm sorry. One of them. One of my favorite animated movies. One of them. And that film is the Lego Movie. Yeah, the Lego Movie. Just, who didn't like this film? This is another movie that shocked me about how good it is. I remember very first watching the trailer for this movie when it first came out, and I was just like, I don't know, but then I saw people praising about it, and then, like, I was really looking forward to it, and then I saw it and ended up loving it. It's just so incredibly entertaining for kids and adults, and that's the thing. It's not just for kids, you know. Adults love this movie, too. In fact, you'd think its target audience would be adults since, you know, they were the ones who played Legos back then, because what kid plays Legos nowadays? But yeah, guys, it's also directed by the very awesome Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who also did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and 21 Jump Street, which are both very excellent films as well. And it stars Chris Pratt and Will Ferrell and other people, other awesome people. So yeah, you can't go wrong with the Lego Movie. Number 26 is probably the film I saw most recently, and that movie is called Mr. Turner. It's directed by Mike Leigh and stars Timothy Spall, who did an incredible job acting as the lead character. Basically, you're following this very famous painter's last 25 years of his life, I believe, in the 1800s, and yeah, you're just following him, and he's just living, you know, his everyday life, and for some reason, in a way, it's still very entertaining. This film is very controversial, actually, because a lot of people seem to be impatient with its lengthy runtime of 2.5 hours, and it's really, there's no straightforward plot to it. But as for me, I really loved it, and I don't know why, but there's just something about it that when you just watch it, you just get sucked into this world and you just can't stop watching it. Not to mention the cinematography is so beautiful, and it's probably one of the best of the year. So yeah, Dick Poop really deserved that Oscar nomination for Best Cinematographer. Does anybody remember that at all? But yeah guys, this movie isn't really for everybody, and I'm not necessarily recommending it to you, but if you like really long movies where nothing really happens and there's a lot of dialogue, then this is the movie for you. Number 25 on this list is actually a movie that I just recently reviewed, and that is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. If you guys did see my review for that, then you probably already know how much I like this movie. Again, it's a very slow-moving film, very artsy, not much happens, and it's definitely not for everyone. But it is still very interesting, and personally one of the best vampire movies I've ever seen. The cinematography as well in this one is very beautiful, and the entire thing is filmed in black and white. I loved it personally, and I think that the film's director has a lot of potential considering that this is her directorial debut. So yeah guys, Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Check it out. Number 24 is actually a film that I reviewed in the last video I uploaded, and it's a little film called Why Don't You Play in Hell. If you guys saw my review for that film, and you probably have, then you probably already know that this movie is batshit crazy. In my review, I mentioned that this is one of the most fun I've had while watching a movie in a while, and I really do mean that. This movie is incredibly entertaining. This is definitely the best Japanese film that came out last year, and one that I think everyone needs to see, especially if you're a fan of extreme Japanese cinema. So yeah, Why Don't You Play in Hell definitely deserves its spot on this list. Number 23 is a movie that not everybody loves, and it's The ABCs of Death 2. I know this movie is very controversial due to its graphic content and its apparently mediocre selection of short films, but I love the hell out of this movie. I was a huge fan of the first one, and what I loved so much about it is that there's so much to like about it. Like, there will be certain films that you will either love or hate, and for most people there seems to be a lot more misses than hits. And although there were some that weren't really as good as others, I still loved most of the shorts that were in this anthology. And although I did like the first one a little bit more, this one still had some very new and refreshing ideas, and just every short seems so different from each other. So yeah guys, check out the ABCs of Death 2 if you haven't yet. It's definitely a very interesting one. Alright, now this is my favorite animated movie that came out last year. This is a film that I think is very underrated and that everybody should check out, and that film is called Ernest and Celestine. Ernest and Celestine is a French animated film following a world where bears and mice coexist, but each species despises each other. And of course, it follows the friendship of a bear named Ernest and a mouse named Celestine, who are very notorious due to their strange and unusual friendship. This is such a fun and beautiful film, not to mention that animation is probably the best that came out last year, and yeah, it's so cute and adorable, and it'll just leave you with this big stupid grin on your face. So yeah guys, definitely check out Ernest and Celestine if you haven't yet. I highly recommend it. Number 21 on my list is a film called Locke, and it stars Tom Hardy and is directed by a man named Stephen Knight. Now, I reviewed this one as well, and holy crap man, this is an awesome movie. Literally, the entire film follows Tom Hardy in a car, and he ends up calling all these people, and all this stuff ends up happening, and you have to see it for yourself. It may sound boring, I know, but trust me on this one, it's pretty damn entertaining. So yeah guys, check out Locke, it's pretty fantastic. Number 20 on my list is a film that I don't believe I've reviewed yet, but I've always wanted to get around to doing that, and I probably should sometime soon, but this movie is called Cheap Thrills, and it stars Pat Healy, David Koechner, and man, is this a fun movie. If you guys aren't familiar with the story, basically it follows this guy who's paying these two dudes to do some like really whack stuff. For example, he'll say, "I'll give you $100 to punch yourself in the face," or something like that. But of course, things get way out of hand, and the farther into the game they get, the more messed up stuff they have to do, and they just basically end up fighting for their lives. So yeah, this movie's very entertaining, and I love the hell out of it, so yeah, if you guys haven't seen this movie yet, definitely check it out. It's a pretty interesting watch. Alright, now this is a weird one. Number 19 on my list is actually a French and Danish film, I believe, and it's called The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears, and yeah, it's a pretty weird one. It's basically this art house horror film in the style of an Argento film, and it really has no straightforward narrative plot, and it's one of those movies that you just kind of have to figure out for yourself. Now, I'm usually a sucker for these kind of movies, and I found myself enjoying this movie quite a lot. Although I can't really say I understood a lot of it, it's still very entertaining, and the cinematography definitely takes the cake in this one, and just, holy crap guys, the way they filmed this movie, it just, I can't explain it. It's one of those movies that you just have to see for yourself. So yeah, check out The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears. It's very, very interesting. So hey, remember when I said there were going to be no superhero movies on this list? Well, I lied, because number 18 on my list is the one and only Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I know that I say I'm not a fan of these types of movies, and I'm really not, but there's just something about this one that's just so fun and different, which is why I love the hell out of it, and it's probably one of my favorite Marvel movies, and it's just one of those movies that I could just watch over and over again and never get tired of. James Gunn is a great director, and I loved his previous films, which were Slither and Super, and Chris Pratt is awesome as always. In fact, I love this movie so much that my girlfriend actually bought me this dancing Groot, who dances every time somebody talks, and just, there's also this button. So yeah guys, check out Guardians of the Galaxy if you haven't yet. What am I saying? Who hasn't seen this movie? It's a great movie, so yeah, it definitely deserves its spot on this list. Number 17 on this list is actually Lars von Trier's new film. I never knew how to pronounce his name. Is it Trier? It's Lars von Trier's newest film, and it's called Nymphomaniac. Now, I know there were 2 parts released for this movie. Because the film itself was so long, they had to cut it down to 2 parts. But I'm just gonna go ahead and count this as just one big movie. Nymphomaniac is extremely lengthy, but worth every second in my opinion. It's a great character study, and it's also a great way to end von Trier's Depression trilogy, as they called it, although Antichrist is still my favorite of the bunch. But the film is still very interesting, very beautifully filmed, and it's definitely worth its runtime. So yeah guys, check out Nymphomaniac if you haven't yet. Number 16 is actually a film that you wouldn't really find on a list like this, especially for me. I'm not a huge fan of action films. In fact, I don't really care for action films all that much, to be completely honest with you. But wow, this film is pretty freaking cool, and that film is the one and only John Wick. Wow, did this movie entertain me. The action is just non-stop, and it kept going, and it definitely kept me entertained. Every second of this movie is just, it's so fun, and I never got bored while watching it. Keanu Reeves did a great job playing the lead character, or as they call him, the boogeyman. This movie is just a really fun ride, and I had a blast while watching it. Action fan or not, guys, definitely check out John Wick. You're gonna wish you did. Trust me. Next up on my list is Christopher Nolan's newest sci-fi epic, Interstellar. Now, when I first saw this movie in theaters, I really didn't know what to think. I was just really confused while watching it, and all I knew was that it was definitely very well made, and the cinematography was so gorgeous. But upon several viewings, I have grown to love this movie, and I appreciate it for being so smart and confusing, but then again, that's just typical Nolan for you. No, what did I just say? It's typical Nolan for you. But no, really, this is definitely the best sci-fi film that came out last year, and it's one that everybody needs to check out in my opinion, sci-fi fan or not. So yeah guys, Interstellar, check it out. Number 14 on my list is probably one of the most underrated films that came out last year, and I'm really surprised that not a lot of people have heard of this one. But this film is called Coherence, and yeah, you guys need to see this movie immediately. Again, a movie I really didn't know what to expect. The plot on IMDb didn't really say much, and I didn't know what kind of movie I was really going into. And that's what I think made this movie so great. So for that reason, I'm not gonna say any more about it. I'm just gonna allow you guys to go into this movie not knowing a thing, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. Trust me guys, this is an incredible film, and it's one that really messes with your head, so if you think you can handle it, then definitely check this movie out. It's a must-watch for those who love a good thinker. So yeah, Coherence, just check it out. Number 13 is Adam Wingard's newest film called The Guest. Now, personally, I loved You're Next. It was one of my favorite films that came out in 2013, so I was really excited to see this one. But after finding out it wasn't a horror film and it was actually more of a thriller and an action film, I became a bit skeptical, but the movie still didn't let me down, and it managed to entertain the hell out of me. Dan Stevens did a great job playing the lead character, and it's definitely a very different movie in terms of style. Also, the soundtrack to this film is it's phenomenal. So phenomenal, in fact, that I actually bought the whole soundtrack on iTunes, and I listened to it quite a lot, and I gotta say, it's one of the best movie soundtracks since Drive. So yeah, not only should you guys check out the movie, but check out the soundtrack as well. Both are very incredible. Number 12 is my favorite action movie that came out last year, and that is The Raid 2. As I mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of action movies, but holy crap, talk about action-packed. I was a huge fan of the first film, and I was really excited to see this one, and I was actually really surprised to see that this one was even better. Gareth Evans' directing mixed with the awesome choreography is what made this film so fantastic. It's definitely the best Indonesian film to come out in 2014, and hell, it's one of the best action movies to come out in a while. Like, even this guy's praising it, calling it one of the best action movies ever made, so yeah, there you go. But yeah, guys, I can't stress enough how much you need to go see this movie, action fan or not. It's great, and it definitely deserves to be on this list. Number 11 on my list is a film called Nightcrawler, and it stars Jake Gyllenhaal and is actually the directorial debut for first-time director Dan Gilroy. Now, I saw the trailer for this film, and the trailer itself, it blew me away. Like, I was so pumped to see this movie. It was definitely one of my most anticipated films of last year. Although I do gotta say, I was just a tad bit disappointed in this film. Otherwise, it would be a lot higher up on my list, but it's a fantastic film. It's amazing. What I loved about this movie is that the story is it's so original, you know, it seems like something that's really never been done before, and Jake Gyllenhaal, good God, is he awesome in this film. By far, one of his best performances and the best acting of 2014. Like, he made the movie for me. I was legitimately scared of this dude. But yeah, guys, check out Nightcrawler if you haven't yet. It's an awesome film, and it's well worth your time. Alright guys, we finally made it to my top 10 favorite movies of 2014. At number 10, we have a film known as The Grand Budapest Hotel. Now, originally, this movie was a lot farther down on this list at like number 16 or something like that, but I just recently saw it a second time and I forgot how truly awesome this movie is. So yeah, now it's my number 10 favorite film of 2014. Personally, I am a huge fan of Wes Anderson. He is one of my all-time favorite directors, and just all of his movies are just fantastic, and I'm just a huge fan of his work. Moonrise Kingdom is still my favorite of his, but this comes really close at being my second favorite. Guys, check out The Grand Budapest Hotel if you haven't yet. It is an awesome, beautiful film. Number 9 is a film that at the beginning of the year I thought would be a lot higher on my list. But unfortunately, it wasn't as great as everyone hoped, but it was still one hell of a movie, and yeah, that is the one and only 2014 Godzilla. Definitely my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2014. I was so stoked to see this. I remember being at the theater, like at the early premiere with all my friends, and everybody around me was just so stoked to see this movie. It was definitely probably one of the best theater experiences I had last year. Yes, although Godzilla lacked a lot of screen time, you gotta remember that even in the earlier films, he lacked a lot of screen time, so this is nothing new. But of course, we Americans are picky with our movies, and if they're not action-packed or, you know, there's not explosions in our faces every second, then everybody hates it. But I still love the hell out of this film. Gareth Edwards did a fantastic job at directing, and I honestly cannot wait for the sequel to come out. So yeah, guys, Godzilla, check it out. I forgot I had the thing here. Whoops. So yeah, I have all like the DVDs, or not the DVDs, I have all the Blu-rays right here, and I keep forgetting to pick them up. So this has happened a couple times before, but I'm too lazy to do that over again. So yeah, here it is. Just so you know, I have it. Alright, moving on. Number 8 is probably one of the most surprising movies to come out last year, and that film is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Holy moly, this movie was insanely good. It was a little too good than it should have been, actually. Matt Reeves did an awesome job at directing, and this was actually a lot better than Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which was, I have it right here, which was another film that a lot of people loved, and another one that just really surprised people when it first came out. But I think what really surprised me about this one was just how, like, emotional and intense it was. Like, I was actually getting kind of choked up in the theater at certain parts. Not to mention the action is really great, and there's not a single dull moment in this film. And yeah, plus it features apes riding horses with machine guns, so yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Number 7 is another movie I reviewed, and this is the best found footage film that came out last year, and I'm usually not a fan of found footage films, but this was a good one, and that film is Afflicted. This is definitely one of the best found footage films to come out in a while, and one that I think everybody needs to go and see, found footage fan or not, just go see this movie. Again, I already reviewed this, so I'm not going to go too deep into what I thought about it, but if you guys are really curious, you can go ahead and check out that review. But yeah, Afflicted is a great movie, and one that I think everybody needs to check out. Number 6 on my list is actually a film that came out in Israel, and it's one that Quentin Tarantino called his favorite movie of 2013. Now, I know this is technically a 2013 movie because it was coming out in festivals, you know, in that year, but Hell, I couldn't resist taking this off my list, so I'm counting it. The film is called Big Bad Wolves, and it is somewhat a very dark, disturbing, and just hilarious movie. I don't want to give away too much, but basically it's about a father and a detective who are getting revenge on a child molester who claims he didn't do it, and basically the whole movie is them, you know, trying to come to terms as to who to trust and what's going on. It's a great movie and a very underrated one at that, so yeah, I highly suggest you guys check this one out. It is well worth your time. But yeah, Big Bad Wolves. Check it out. It's awesome. Alright, we are getting to the nitty-gritty here. Number 5 is actually, I forgot what number we were on for a minute. Number 5 is actually a film that I reviewed also not too recently, and that film is called Under the Skin. Under the Skin stars Scarlett Johansson, who plays this unworldly figure who lures men into her apartment to seduce them when really, well, you kind of just gotta watch it. You kind of just gotta watch it to see what happens. This is definitely one of the most beautiful films to come out last year, and Jonathan Glazer's directing is fantastic. It is a very slow-moving, strange, and just different movie, but it's one that you guys should check out right away if you haven't yet. Again, it's very different, which I appreciate, and it's just a very well-made film overall. So yeah, guys, check out Under the Skin if you haven't yet. It's definitely one of the best movies that came out last year. Alright, number 4 is actually my personal favorite horror film that came out in 2014, and that movie is the one and only The Babadook. The Babadook is actually one of the best horror films to come out in a while, in my opinion, and it's a little too smart for its own good. It's genuinely creepy and features quite possibly one of the best horror movie icons in a long time. Essie Davis did an awesome job as the female lead, and the kid did pretty good as well. But yeah, guys, not only is The Babadook a very great horror film, but it's just such a great film in general, and it's one that you guys should definitely check out, and it is one of the best films to come out in 2014, so yeah, check it out. Number 3 on my list actually won Best Picture last year at the Oscars, and that film is Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. I'm glad this film won Best Picture because it definitely deserved it. It's very well made, very well acted, well directed, and I honestly can't wait for the director's newest film coming out with Leonardo DiCaprio called The Revenant, I believe. Michael Keaton was so good in this movie, and just the way they filmed it is just so genius. Making a movie look like it was filmed in one long shot is a pretty ballsy decision, but they managed to pull it off very well in this movie. Edward Norton, Emma Stone, Zach Galifianakis, everybody did so good in this movie. It is near perfect, and like I said, it definitely deserved to take home the Best Picture, so yeah. Birdman, guys, check it out if you haven't yet, although I'm sure you have. It's one of the best movies that came out last year. Now, number 2 on my list was actually nominated for Best Picture, but lost to the wonderful Birdman. But if there is one movie that I wish would have taken it if Birdman didn't, then it would definitely be this one, and that movie is Whiplash. Holy crap, this movie is so freaking good. Personally, my favorite movie that was featured in the Academy Awards last year, this movie was outstanding. It was so good. Miles Teller did such a good job in here, as well as J.K. Simmons. He was awesome, and I can't wait to see what Damien Chazelle. I can't wait to see what Damien Chazelle has in store for us next, because this dude knows how to make a movie. I was literally on the edge of my seat while watching this movie, like literally on the edge of my seat, like I was about to fall off. This movie was just so tense and emotional and just so very well made, and it's just one of the best movies I've seen in a while. Guys, if you haven't seen Whiplash, then just what are you doing with your life? Go and see this movie. Even if you're not a fan of movies, just go see it. It's amazing. This movie's gonna motivate you to go out and do what you want to do, and don't stop and keep on trying and trying until you get it right and you do that thing that you want to do. And it's just, yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie, okay? That's all I can say. But yeah, guys, go see Whiplash. Definitely one of the best movies I've seen in a while. I am highly recommending it if you have not yet seen it. And yeah. Holy crap, guys. We made it. My number 1 favorite movie of 2014. This movie that I'm about to share with you guys is probably like one of the most underrated movies just ever. Like, I can't express enough how much you guys need to go see this movie. In fact, I love this movie so much that it actually grew to be one of my personal favorite movies of all time. Like, this is one of my favorite movies. And that film, ladies and gentlemen, is the one and only Denis Villeneuve's, I hope I pronounced his name right, Enemy. This is one of my favorite movies ever. I love this movie. It is one of my favorites. When it comes to my favorite types of movies, and I mean horror is my favorite genre, but when it comes to my favorite types of movies, I gotta say it's like the ones that kind of just really make you think, or just ones that you know, you can't really stop talking about, or not talking about, but ones that you can't really stop thinking about, you know, some that just in a weird way have an impact on your life, you know, just some that really make you think, and Enemy is definitely one of those movies. Like, you guys seriously have to go check this movie out. It's gonna make you think a lot. Although I do warn you guys that this movie is not for everyone. This movie will leave you scratching your head, and hell, when I first watched it, I just was staring at my wall for 5 minutes straight after it ended. Like, I didn't know what to think of it. All I knew was that I needed to do some more research on this movie, and that's exactly what I did. You know, I went online and I looked at people's different interpretations, and I just wanted to know their thoughts on it, and I read, you know, all these articles and watched all these videos. I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning that night just like looking stuff up about it. Like, I was really into this movie. That is my kind of movie, and that is the reason why I watch movies, you know. I want to get sucked into this world, and I just want to know more about it. Now, I am almost positive that you guys will not like this movie as much as I did. In fact, you might even hate it. Like, there are people who hate this film, but I feel like they just don't understand it. I really don't know. But like I mentioned, this is a very, very personal film for me, and one that I just absolutely adore. So guys, check out Enemy if you haven't yet. It's definitely the best movie that I saw in 2014, and it is one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, guys, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll probably upload a video or a review on that movie because I really want to talk more about it. But that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes my list of my top 30 best movies of 2014. So there you guys have it. I love making these types of videos. I love, you know, sharing all these awesome movies with you guys, and hopefully you guys have, you know, some movies to watch, considering that I shared over 70 movies with you guys. But yes, I am planning on uploading a top best movies of 2015 list, but please, please, please keep in mind that I probably won't be uploading that list, you know, when everybody else does, because I'm sure it's gonna take me a while to watch, you know, all the movies that came out this year, and it's gonna be a very long process. But please be patient, and before you guys know it, that time will come again, and I will show you guys, my list of best movies that came out in 2015. But yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking around for this awfully lengthy video. It was very fun to make, and I'm really glad that I got all that out of the way, but yeah. And stay tuned, for I have some very awesome videos coming for you guys in October, where I will be reviewing a bunch of more awesome movies for you guys, so just be prepared for that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm Jacob Palacio, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Adios.